Do you want to
You
want to take us away?
You want me to intro it?
Yeah, you're the best at it.
This time. All right, you guys, welcome to Down to the City. We are at Black Dog Studios, our favorite place home. It's our home away from home. And we got a special guest here today, Alex, aka Distant Matter, as his famous name. How are you doing, buddy?
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You have in your Insta bio that you're a sound nerd.
Yeah.
Are you like
define
a full-time?
that.
Yeah,
define that for us.
Listen, sound is a complex thing, and I love it. I love maneuvering and playing around with different sounds, and I'm just obsessed with like synthesizers and sound design and mixing and mastering and just everything there is to do with sound.
We might have to hire you on as a part-time technician because we have some audio issues quite frequently.
We do require some troubleshooting.
But I just kind of want to start things off before like anything. Yeah. What is up with the name Distant Matter? Like, what does that mean?
Where was that birthed?
So basically, it's me and my brother. Like my brother started an Instagram page called Distant Matter, and this was back in I would say 2015, 2016. And essentially, he just posted pictures that he thought was cool, pictures that he was taking, and sort of was just like building an aesthetic. And when I went into first year, I sort of wanted to do something creative. And I basically just said to him, I was like, hey, like I'd love to take over the Instagram page and just start, trying to make a brand out of it. And he's like, yeah, sure. I'd love for you to do that.
Music intentions?
Yeah, literally no music intentions. Honestly,
what was the initial purpose of the Instagram? Was it just like photos and
just a medium to express like himself and like
just art?
Yeah, just art.
Cool.
And so basically, when I started making music, which was in my first year of university, the summer first year, I was like, you know what? Like I really like this name. I'm just going to use this as my artist name, and I wanted it to make sense. Like I wanted it to sort of have like a meaning that isn't just like a random name. And I sort of related it to the concept that like everything around us, like this couch, this table, like everything is like tangible matter. However, like sound is something that you can't see. So it's like essentially like something that's the distant matter.
Shit.
Wow, so that's some Rene Descartes shit.
That's some deep shit.
When we came up with that, I was just like, like this is the artist name. Like I'm sort of sticking to it, and this is what I want my name to be.
That's actually a dope story.
And I like that you decided to stick with the brand that you had already established, because so many artists change their names on a constant basis and rebrand themselves, but people already know you as that one thing and associate you with that one brand. So why not just build on it and keep the name, because you've already, built your clout around it.
Yeah. And like, it's funny. Like I was like debating between like so many different names. And like one of like the names that I was debating with was like Alex, but like instead of it spelled with like an E, it was spelled with a backward, like a 3. So like it was like Alex with a 3. And I was like,
trolly.
Thank God I didn't do that.
Too many people are doing that. Too many people.
Super trolly.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely like, I love the name. It's like I'm
like how
really
there's
happy
actually
I chose
a proper like meaning behind it, and it's kind of scientific, and you coin yourself as a nerd. So that's pretty amazing.
And like also like when I was deciding on like what the name should be, there was like maybe like 10 different options, and this is like right when Distant Matter like started. I sent out a Google Doc to like all my closest friends and like made them vote on which one they thought was the best. Distant Matter was the last option. No one voted for Distant Matter. Everyone voted for Alex with a 3, or like one of the names was like Zell, because like my last name's Seligman, so like Zell.
So now we know your first and last name. All this time I thought you were just Distant Matter.
Yeah, first name Distant, last name Matter.
That's really cool though, and I like that you say that you're a music nerd, because music is very rudimentary and mathematical in nature. Like it's all about putting things together, just like an equation, right? Like
for sure,
you can definitely be a nerd in more ways than just math.
Yeah. So how did you start in music, and how has it kind of evolved into the person we're sitting across today? And kind of, can you just explain to people the type of music it is that you make?
Yeah. So I have been playing piano ever since I can remember, and sort of just like never really took it seriously. Like I was just like would play piano and like learn songs by ear. I never like had a piano lesson, and like my parents would like come down and I'd be playing like Billy Joel and like Elton John when I was like maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and I like loved playing piano, but never really like took it to the next level. And then sort of like stopped playing maybe from like the years of like age you know, 13 to like 16, I just didn't play. And when I was, you know, when I went into university, I wanted to go and be a sports agent. And then that sort of like transpired to me wanting to be like a music manager. And then when I sort of came up with the whole taking over the Distant Matter brand and trying to do something creative with it, that summer I was like obsessed with guitar, and then started picking up guitar. And I had a storage room in my basement, and I remember this vividly. My parents were standing in the kitchen, in the basement, and I looked at them. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I turn this room into a music room, like that I can just play guitar and just like, you know, vibe out to? And that summer I had been jamming with my friends, like at their houses, my house, like we would just jam. And that was sort of like when I started like actually getting really into music. And then back to the basement story where I was like, you know, I'm going to just turn this room into a studio room where I'm going to play guitar. And I like made it my goal to like basically record myself playing every Pink Floyd song on Dark Side of the Moon on guitar and piano just for fun. Like I never wanted to take it seriously. And I was obsessed with Pink Floyd. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to like make this a music room. And then literally like the next day I was like, you know what, like I'm just going to like download Logic Pro and like learn how to like produce. Like why not? Like it'll be so much fun.
Right.
Cause like when I was little, like I would say like when I was like 10, 11 years old, I was playing around with GarageBand, and like all throughout high school, I would like, you know, make these little like raps with my friends and like record it on GarageBand. So I sort of knew like the interface, and then I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna start learning how to produce. And then
when did it change from you like just messing around, playing on the guitar a bit, showing some chords, GarageBand in your music room studio? When did it transition from that to kind of just focusing on how to create
and produce
your sound of like who you are, and kind of actually take it more seriously as an artist rather than just someone messing around with some chords?
So I say like when I started producing, like when I made that decision where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start making music. I was doing that for about a year, just playing around, like not really taking it like seriously, but like I would produce pretty much every day, just sort of learning how to do it. Then once I sort of learned how to do it, it took about a year to like actually get like my grips and learn how to like take it, like actually like make a song and like structure it and like what goes into it. And then I took a course online called Hyperbits for a year, and like that taught me like all like the technical aspects of like producing. And like right before I started that course, I was like, you know what, like I love this. Like when I do this, like I lose track of time, and like I never have felt like so like attached to something in my life before. So I was like, you know what, like I'm making this my career. Like there's really no plan B.
How easy was it for you to pick up on it?
Like to pick up on
like the technical side of the producing, and just kind of
felt like I picked it up pretty naturally. Like I just like I'm very like tech savvy. Like I love technology, and like have always like loved technology since I was like little, and I just sort of like merged into it pretty naturally. And then once I sort of got comfortable with it and like started just making more music, I would just sort of like make music that I like admired, like make like pretty much replicate like Flume and like Louis the Child and like Coldplay, and just music that I love to hear. And that sort of like helped me like learn how to like actually make a song. And then, you know, after just doing that over and over again, like I just sort of developed my own sort of unique sound.
Drew inspirations from different people, made it into your own sound.
I think like artists are like the best artists are like thieves. Like they just take from a bunch of different mediums. Like it could be like, you know, I'm taking like this vocal like processing idea from Kanye with like the synths like from like Flume, but like the pop like writing and songwriting from like Daft Punk. Like it's just like you steal different ideas from different artists and you sort of like mix it all together and then add your own like spin to it. And that's sort of like what I did, and you know, I'm still finding my sound and still developing.
On that note, actually, I was gonna say, what do you think like intersects your sound in terms of like what artists do you pull from in that sense, other than the ones you mentioned? Obviously, Flume we talked about earlier, and Louis the Child is also like one of my favorite artists. And they're all sort of in the same category in that sense. But I guess I'm asking, what sounds do you find yourself pulling from to create your own distinct?
So I think I take a lot from the Beatles and
Nice.
Pink Floyd and
Explain.
Elton John. I would say those three are actually like what makes up most of like my inspiration nowadays.
Okay.
Sound wise, like actual like sounds, like and like the instruments that are like the synthesizers, like I would say like obviously it's in the electronic realm. But for example, like Pink Floyd, like what I take from them is like their experimentalness and like their ability to sort of create this vibe that takes you to another place.
Yeah.
And I sort of incorporate that with the Chrome Deluxe version, how like each song on the Chrome Deluxe sort of like went into each other like freely. And
Like
I took that from like Dark Side of the Moon, which like is like my favorite album of all time. I would classify that as like one of the greatest albums ever made. Okay. And, you know, like in terms of like, I mean, like it's music is subjective, but
yeah, 100%.
I would say like, and like from the Beatles, like it's like the way that they, you know, structure their chord progressions and the complex like theory that goes into it and like their use of like secondary dominance and like all these like cool intricate things that like most pop music like doesn't really incorporate. And Elton John is just one of the greatest like piano players, and I just love the way that he
So you say your sound's kind of based off these guys now. How like has this process kind of changed over the past year, like especially due to COVID? Like how has your process changed in terms of making music due to COVID? Because your music's big in terms of like party atmosphere. You're going to be at the clubs playing it. So since then, how has it kind of changed in the way you make music?
So I would say like my process is a lot more developed now. And like the way that I make music is I sit down at my piano and I come up with a chord progression. And that chord progression could be taking inspiration from Elton John or the Beatles or Pink Floyd and the way that they've sort of like structured their chord progressions and sort of adding my own little spin into it. And then I will come up with a melody and some lyrics and just sort of like make a song first. Because that's like the most important thing. Like you need to have like a song first, like bare bone structure, playing it with just one instrument and a voice. If it sounds good, you have a song, right? And so it's sort of just, you know, my process is now just like I do that and then I take it to the computer. So like I think it's just important to like have that sort of like foundation before you like add all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, gotta have dinner before you have dessert.
Yeah, exactly. And so
potatoes of it.
Yeah, I would say like that's sort of how my process has been like refined, and I've been making a lot more music because of that. Like I'm cranking out more tunes on a daily basis as opposed to like before when I would just be like maybe making like one song a week. I could make like 5 or 6 now a week.
So would you say that like the silver lining then of COVID has been the fact that you've had more time for innovation and experimentation? As you say, you pull from a lot of experimental artists like Pink Floyd. It must be almost nice for you to just like kick back in your basement and just come up with as many different ideas for music projects as you can, right?
Mm-hmm. Like for sure. And I think like the best part about it is just like being able to be in like this like creative space and just sort of like the world is your oyster. Like there's so many possibilities that you can do. Like you can literally take you kicking the door and like turn that into like a kick sample or like turn that into like a melody. And like there's just so many things you can do nowadays. And it's just, you know, obviously it sucks that, you know, the world isn't running and there's no concerts and people are in lockdown, but you know, there's beauty in it. And I think everyone's sort of has their silver lining with that, and like everyone's found sort of like their way to make the best of this. But yeah, for me, it's mostly just been like pretty much putting my head down and trying to make as much music as possible, so that when COVID ends, like, you know, sort of have a lot of music to release.
That kind of leads in nicely to, because you're saying you're pumping out a lot of music, you're creating a lot right now, but you have a small sample size on Spotify right now. If people look you up, it's just a few singles out there. So like, when can we expect the debut project of Distant Matter?
And side note, you also have a lot of listeners in comparison to the amount of music that you have. Like you've got a great listening ratio on Spotify, which is pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my next single comes out March 12th. Super excited about it. It's one of my favorite songs I've made to date.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is like
exclusive.
My sort of thought process is every single song I've made is sort of like either like a 2 or 3 track EP or like singles. And for me, like my sort of like release process where it's like I release a single and I want to like follow that up with like a deluxe version, and like no really other like artists are doing something similar to that.
That is very
where it's like I release Chrome and then I drop a deluxe version like maybe like a month later, which like features like 2 other songs that sort of go with Chrome and they all go into each other. And I'm sort of planning on doing that with like each release. And I sort of like classify like my music into like 2 different like categories. There's like the singles, which are the A sides, and then the more experimental stuff, which are the B sides that are like more instrumental and more just like vibey, like maybe not like lyrics on it even, or like a voice, just sort of like an instrumental that sort of like accompanies the main sort of song. But in terms of like an actual like extended project, I really want to be able to have the full focus on that project, like from start to finish, like sort of like lock myself into a room for like 2 months or 3 months or however long it is. See what comes out. And like right now I'm in school and I'm also just trying to like get my name out there and like release a couple singles.
So singles are just the way to
just to get the sound out and like
get a sample size. Yeah.
Once I work on like my first like extended project, that's going to be like maybe when I graduate, which is like in 2-3 months from now, and like where I have like full focus to like just like get down and dirty with getting like an album together.
That's dope. So speaking of creating in general, I just want to clarify, do you like create, produce and perform, like I guess not perform, but you do it, you're a one-man army, right? Like you don't have anyone else helping you behind the scenes?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I love collaborating with other people. Yeah, like that's one of my favorite things. Yeah. But in terms of like everything I make is like either I'm making like the lyrics or like collaborating with another artist for the lyrics, but like in terms of like production and engineering, like that's all me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that artery, so obviously like you said, you like to collab with others, like you did Chrome with Lily.
Yeah.
What kind of vocalist are you looking for to complement your sound? Like, is there a specific genre of artist that you feel you need to satisfy your harmony, or are you really like free range? Like, is it pop? Is it rock? What's the situation?
Honestly, like I would say more on the free range sort of side. Like, okay. I think if 2 artists like have some sort of like creative connection, like the possibilities are endless. Like I don't really like limiting myself to like one specific thing, because I do like experimenting and I do like trying new things. And I think, you know, I'd love to collaborate with like a rock singer or like,
yeah, that'd be dope. Like a Miley Cyrus kind of thing. Like her new Plastic Hearts album.
Yeah, she's killing it.
That would be a dope thing to do.
Yeah, like I think like one of the first songs I ever made, which was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it literally was like an R&B singer and a rapper together on an electronic beat. And like obviously like I haven't released that, and it was like very, you know, it's an old song and it has been, you know,
how's
like,
it sound?
It's pretty good. Like I wouldn't say I would release it, but like I always have been like sort of like someone that wants to like innovate and like experiment with like different sounds and like merge different things together. Like
see what you can make, right? Like
I think that's what it's all about.
Possibilities
like,
out there.
Yeah.
So do you kind of translate that into like kind of keeping an open mind and like the music you make, also keeping an open mind and how you get yourself out there? Like, do you have like, with obviously parties and events and shows being locked down, do you have a more social media mindset now? Because I see you're like on TikTok, you're posting
You're popping
a lot.
Off on TikTok.
You're posting a lot on TikTok. So like, are you kind of using that? How are you trying to use social media to kind of build your brand in that way? And I like, side note before you get into that, I feel like you should do a lot more of like the how to make a beat videos, like
those
sample
are sick.
things. Because there's
what's the thing that you use in your mouth? It looks like a beer bong.
The talk box.
Okay, yeah. That's sick. I know you use that when you did the Flume cover, which by the way Flume shared on their Instagram. Pretty sick.
That's huge. How'd that feel actually?
Yeah.
That was honestly, I remember I was like in my house, just like just beginning of like just the start of lockdown. I think it was like last March, and I had like been like posting like a bunch of like talk box videos, and I just get a notification on my phone. Flume mentioned you in a comment, mentioned you in a video.
Heart drops.
Retweeted your post, and I was just like, wait, this isn't like real. Like one of my biggest inspirations, so crazy,
dude.
like saw me, you know. It's like it's just like a weird thing.
And appreciated you and shared your gift with other people. That's the coolest thing, because like some people are all pumped up when celebrities share something they've like posted on their stories, just text or whatever, but he actually liked what you did as an artist, which must have just felt amazing.
Was there like a follow-up with that, like a little DM, like hey man,
want to fly me out to LA?
I think I just said like thank you so much, like you're a huge inspiration for me.
Such a sick dude. Such a sick dude.
Yeah, he's like one of the coolest like producers, I would say. Like he's such an innovator, and like his sound is just so unique.
Oh, it's so good. And it changes. It's constantly evolving. Like he's such an evergreen artist in the sense that nothing is like what he's done before. Like yes, obviously he's an EDM artist, but he collabs with so many people, so it helps to kind of diversify his sound. We should probably go back to what we initially asked about. How do you use your social media to thrive in the industry?
So yeah, I think for me, I want to sort of just put like my authentic self out there and not try to like portray like some sort of, you know, image that isn't me. Like I think for me, like I have a passion for comedy. I love comedy, and I love making videos that are just funny and weird and just show who I am as a person.
Because you have a lot of like on TikTok, like a lot of like comedy style sketch videos, and then you have like sprinkled in with like some of like your music videos.
It's a good contrast though. It's a really good contrast.
It is. I feel like you need to post a little bit more of like the music stuff, because I really want to see like the process of you making the music. And like the behind the scenes of you making the music. I would love to see that, and I feel like that stuff can really go viral on TikTok.
It's funny you say that, because I actually like have been thinking of sort of like, so like my like sort of like strategy is like I started posting like me playing piano and like me playing guitar, and like no one really like cared. And like obviously that's like for me to be like, you know, like you should just post what you want, but at the same time like
I care.
You got to post stuff that's like, you got to post stuff that's engaging. And like for me it's sort of like a content split between like comedy and like let's say like 4 videos of comedy, 1 video of music. But actually moving forward, I was thinking about it today earlier that like I need to do more like how I made each song, but I want to have sort of more music out there so that like over time, like I can like, you know, put like a video up. But I'm actually doing a video on how I made Chrome sometime this week.
Okay,
I was actually planning on doing it, but
do you have clips already that you've collected for the how-to?
I have some like behind the scenes, just like on like the story of like how the song was made, but like no like actual like clips of me like when I like made the song. But
I love behind the scenes stuff. I was talking to Shaq earlier, the man here at Black Dog, and I was just saying I honestly like behind the scenes stuff more so than the actual video that like the behind the scenes stuff is meant for. It's just quick, digestible, and you see kind of the process of it all, and it kind of makes you appreciate whatever it is you're watching more. So I want to see more of you. My desk next week, more videos on you creating your beats.
Yes, I definitely honestly will. I really like that.
Because especially for an EDM artist right now, I hate bringing up COVID, like the third time bringing it up, but like you really, it's hard to do it because like other genres you can kind of get away with it because you don't have to be performing, but EDM it's like you kind of have to be performing. So taking like social media and like the TikToks now, especially like that, like you can really like EDM artists feel like can really kind of make it through that wave. You know what I mean?
For sure. I think like, you know, posting just like consistently during this time is just sort of like my mindset.
Yeah, it's important.
I think it's like obviously really important, and you know, it's tough because that's like how like electronic artists sort of, you know, get their name out there and get their music out there is they play shows or they tour with other artists or like they host their own events, and it's just you know, it's unfortunate, but it's a blessing in disguise. Like I'm able to work on, you know, music 100% right now, and you're never going to get another time to do that in your life. So I'm really trying to just like be in the now and not sort of like focus on like the past or the present, or sorry, past and future moment. And just like sort of really focus in on like the now and the present and like what I'm making.
So now currently in the present, you are going to University of London, right? Western?
UWL.
Are you planning to University of London? University of Western. So are you planning to kind of continue and stick out? Are you trying to make that your music scene? Because I feel like London is a city that kind of really is open.
What's
to
the bar called
music.
there? The Frog?
Frog, yeah,
You
the
should
Barking
DJ
Frog.
there.
I feel like
Have you
London's a
ever DJ'd
big
there?
EDM
No,
party
not
type
there.
city. I feel like that is kind
Not
of a
there.
good area to kind of start that scene, but kind of stick in that scene.
It's pretty small.
Or am I wrong? Or is
It's
like
No,
pretty small.
I would say like it's definitely an incubator. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely an incubator city. Like there's such a big demographic there that you can sort of promote, yourself to.
Mm-hmm.
I think more so when you can like host events at bars and play and DJ like Frog or that's how Loud Luxury
it's
started.
like one of the biggest party
out to
schools.
Frog.
So you mix
Yeah,
like
it's-
party EDM music with that. I feel like it kind of makes for a perfect marriage.
Yeah. Honestly, right now, like
Analogy.
like right now, it's sort of just like releasing the music that like releasing singles here and there, releasing remixes for people to listen to and party to, and that's just sort of the route that it's going right now. It's obviously you can't play shows, but it's definitely like being in London. It's a great, there's just so many people there, and like people tell, oh, did you listen to this song? And it's like,
and people, it's nice too, because when you're in that university setting, everybody is like coming out from somewhere else. It's like Queens too, right? Like you meet people from all over the country. So you're right. It's a really great place to like get the word spread about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you're going to go home and like maybe tell a friend in Vancouver or Ottawa or wherever. And like, yeah, I think it's a great way to network yourself.
Just kind of speaking on shows, I kind of want, so on your website, I think it was on your website, I saw this. There's a snippet that says, in quotes, "You're a one-man electric band that plays every instrument on stage for an exhilarating live performance, accompanied by striking visuals inspired by galactic space designed to illustrate the auditory experience."
Prove it. Right now.
So,
Go.
wow, when can we get tickets? And like, next show, we want tickets to
First
see
of
that
all,
shit. That is quite the explanation of what your live
Quite the
performances
doozy
are
to
like.
read.
yeah, I mean,
What made you explain yourself that way?
so during COVID, like during lockdown, I did my first like live element show where I had like my synth, my drum pad, my guitar, and
Where'd you do that?
it was actually in my house.
Okay,
But it was
sick.
for
What was it,
this
like a live stream.
Live
kind of
stream
thing?
for
Yeah.
it was called Moose Fest.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I feel like.
And so when I just started like performing, it was just like DJing, but I've always wanted to be able to like have all the elements incorporated, like the synthesizers and the drum pads and everything. And that's sort of like once things open up again and I'm able to play like real in-person live shows, that's sort of what I want to do. And
What do you kind of value more, like being known as that great act or performance that people can go see, as you explained here, or more so honing in your sound and creating that perfect like studio quality level single?
I think both are just as important. Like as an artist, you have to have like, an artist can have one thing and it could be really good at making really good sounding music. But I think as an artist, you need to have a good balance between everything, whether that's, marketing and posting content or your live show experience. Like, is your live show just going to be you DJing? Is it going to have you playing instruments, or like, is there going to be lights and like a synchronized like backdrop with like LED like backdrop and like visuals and stuff? Like, I think all of those elements go into like what makes an artist who they are. And I think each element is just as important as the next. Obviously, it's really important to have good sounding music, but I think you got to have a good balance between like where you spend your time and your money and your energy.
Speaking of the next, what can we expect to come down the pipe from you in the
Aside
next
from
little
your-
while?
aside from the single
So
in
you got a
March?
single. Do you want to drop the name, or are you keeping it secret until March 12th? Don't feel like you have to if you don't want to. Although this is good interrogative journalism. I'm not gonna lie.
Is this going to be posted like
This
ASAP?
We'll bleep it.
be-
We'll bleep
This
it.
will be out. What day
This will
are
be
we
out probably on
today?
Tuesday.
Today's
Okay.
the
Can you
13th.
bleep it out?
This will be Tuesday.
Yeah, you don't even have to
No,
say
I'm not
it.
gonna say
We'll
it.
just pretend. We'll
I'm not
just keep
gonna
us
say
on our
it.
toes. Just
I'm
keep
not gonna
everyone
say
on
it.
their
I'm not
toes.
gonna say it.
But for the rest of
Yeah,
2021,
what about the rest
past
of the year?
March, what is your rollout expected
you know?
to look like? Are you
So-
going to spread out your singles or flood the market at one point?
I honestly, I don't think it's the best. And this is just my opinion. Like, everyone's got their own strategy and their own sort of like way of how they want to promote themselves. I don't really like the idea of putting out a single each month. Like, I think that's just fatigues your audience.
Yeah.
I think you need to have really good quality music that like you love, and you put it out and you sort of just let it sit for a bit. And like, that's what I did with Chrome. Like I put it out and I haven't put anything out. Obviously I've put, you know, a remix here and there, like, or a remix and like the deluxe version. And like, I would say like those two things, like the deluxe version and the remix, are great ways to sort of extend the life of a release.
Okay.
So for me, it's like, you know, I don't want to put out too much. I want to sort of spread it out. So after I shouldn't have said that, but after March 12th, I'm going to be putting out the deluxe version of the March 12th release.
Okay.
And sprinkled in there before March 12th, I'm putting out a remix on SoundCloud, and then I'm going to probably put another remix out after the release, after the deluxe. And then I've got 3 other singles that I'm going to be putting out by the end of 2021.
Okay. You've got a game plan.
Obviously things can change because, you know, if I want to, you know, put out less or more, but sort of like right now, finished songs that like are in the,
you're prepared to
in
release.
like the arsenal, ready to go.
Right.
They're coming together.
And yeah, like I think I may put out like a mini project this summer, but sort of right now, just, I want to just keep the ball rolling with some singles and some more deluxe versions. I've got some really, really exciting like B-side tracks that I'm so excited to put out on the deluxe versions of the singles. But yeah,
you're like 10 steps ahead of yourself already. I love it. You know what's going on.
Like you're very like, you know, you have your strategy and you're kind of like sticking to it. Is this strategy kind of like, you think helped you have these large amounts of listeners on Spotify despite such a small sample size? Like you have like 10,000 monthly listeners. Chrome has over 200,000 streams. Like, is this strategy kind of the key, you found like the key to your success or recent success?
I think, you know, promoting a song it's like a mystery. Like you never know what's going to work and what's not going to work, but you need to sort of have a plan, and you can't just like put something out into the universe and just like expect it to
thrive.
Yeah. You got to have sort of like a backing with like, what am I going to be posting on TikTok? What am I going to be posting on Instagram? Like, when am I going to be posting that? What other content is going to be coming out with that certain song? Is there going to be a music video? Is there going to be sort of like a behind the scenes video? Like, you got to sort of have like a plan and a way to like get it out to the audience. Facebook ads is obviously a very powerful tool.
Instagram ads.
Playlisting, like playlist pitching on Spotify. But it's, you know, it's definitely, it's tough. Like it's hard, but you gotta,
I don't think people understand really how much work goes into content creation either. Like I work in comms myself, and like putting out content is exhausting, and it's very mathematical. And you're so right. Like you have to know what the algorithm is going to eat up, or else you're not going to be able to advertise
the whole
yourself
like
properly.
mathematical scientific number side behind it kind of takes away a bit of the fun of like the actual content part
for
of
sure.
it.
They say if you go in comms, you're bad at math, but then you get sucked into doing math again. So you can't get away from math is what I've learned.
Yeah, stay in school.
Stay in school, kids.
Yeah, and I would say like putting out like content, it's sort of like there is like, you know, like I would say like I've actually learned a lot from school because I'm in a consumer behavior focused program. So I think it actually has taught me sort of like about how people work and how, because the thing is right now I'm sort of just experimenting with my content. Like I'm not, you know, set on like a certain, you know, idea of a video or a picture or whatever that I need to put out. Like it's sort of like I'm experimenting with different things and seeing like what works. And I think the benefit of all that is like the learning. Like I think for any artist trying to like put out content, like just experiment with like different ideas and different sort of like comedy, humor, like comedy or like value or like, you know, different like sort of like propositions that you would base your content off of. But I think the learning aspect has been throughout COVID for sure has been like a definite plus. Like I've learned a lot about.
It's just cool hearing people's release strategies and how they're trying to like work the, you know, algorithms on Spotify and stuff. Because we talked to Jessica Pearson Eastwind in December, and they had a completely different strategy for like rolling out their music. I can't like on the spot. I kind of forget what it was, go back and check out that interview.
I got
and they'll
nothing.
Have it. But like, like they had a completely different strategy, and like I hear like you just doing singles, stuff like that. So it's just cool hearing people's ways of how they're trying to get.
It's also very reflective of like the different niche markets that you're hitting with different sounds, because Jessica Pearson and Eastwind are a folk, I just like a folk indie band, right? So they are catering to a different audience than you would be. Like, I think using TikTok is the right way to do it if you're an EDM producer, because like the type of people that like to listen to EDM are also the type of people that like to consume 15 minutes of like short, like loud, flashy content. You know what I mean? So I think, definitely a different scene on TikTok. And
it's also like, I think one thing I've noticed has been not just like getting your music out to like specific, like electronic, like niche Instagram pages or whatever. Like it's about like reaching out to like maybe like some car like Instagrams, like, and being like, hey, like I have a song that you can use royalty free for your car videos. And like, it doesn't matter if the demographic that's like here, like the demographic that's seeing that is just into cars. Like the music that goes with it, like can even if it picks up 2 or 3 people that say, hey, I like this song. Like I definitely have heard music from videos that I've seen on Instagram or TikTok that I've been like, wow, I like this song. And it like the music that's going with the video has nothing to do with the song. It's like a video of like cooking or like the quick, you know, like tips on like how to cook. And then it's like a really sick song that I've just been like, oh, I like this a lot. Cool.
So you reached out to a car dealership or?
No, just like, I would say like YouTube pages that like specialize in like,
that's cool.
So car videos or like whatever Instagram pages.
Just like a background.
Yeah, like just like
someone just barbecuing. You got like plume in the background.
Are you always trying to be collaborative with just anyone, not even just different artists, just whatever it is? Let's collab somehow and kind of like. Are you a big collaborative guy?
Yeah, I love.
Because like big collab.
This guy's. I thought you were just like, oh, this guy's doing like deals with car dealerships, like they're.
No, I took him.
Usually people
literally.
are. Yeah. Okay, that's. I like that though, because that kind of is like. Content branding integration is just kind of
it's
like,
great. It's a I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of setup, you know? Like you get what
it's
you
so
give.
hard not to say that quote from Superbad, but I'm gonna hold myself back.
Shut it down. Shut it down. That would be 2 weeks in a row. We don't need that.
Yeah, I gotta keep that down.
Well, do we
that kind of like
is there anything you want to add that we didn't touch on that you'd like people to know about? Anything you want to plug? This is your time to shine.
This is your monologue.
Yeah. Any quotes you want to share with people? You miss 99% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky.
Message to the kids.
Yeah, what do you gotta say to the kids?
Yeah. What are you saying
Honestly,
for young aspiring
I think
people?
my sort of philosophy is that you are in control of your life, and if you want something, go out and get it. Like, make it your duty to make that your reality.
Once you find that switch, like for you, and you said you hit that switch, you knew this is what you wanted to do, just stick with it and go for it.
Yeah, and I would say like an important thing is like find your strengths and like experiment with different things. Like if you don't know what you're good at, experiment with different things. Just try new things out, and you'll find sort of that like median where you know that that's what you are meant to do. And it can change. Like it's just all about experimenting and finding what your strengths are, and sort of just like honing in on your strengths. And
trial and error.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Any plug-in shout-outs to anyone you'd like to give up before we round this up?
Plug your socials.
Shout out to you guys for hosting this sweet show.
Word up.
To us.
It's been a pleasure. Love
Pleasure
chatting with
having
you
you
guys. Yeah.
Plug your socials. We could get you maybe like 1 or 2 more followers.
Sweet.
Hit them up.
You can find me on Instagram, just Distant Matter.
Distant Matter.
Yeah.
So cool.
New single coming out March 12th. Stay tuned. Distant Matter. Look them up. Spotify. All that kind of jazz.
Share it when it comes out.
Yeah, we'll be sharing it on our platforms. And yeah, dude, it was nice chalking up with you.
Yeah.
I would love to go to one of your shows in the future that are accompanied by striking visuals,
maybe
inspired
it can be
by
one of
galactic
our
space,
shows.
designed to illustrate the auditory experience someday. I would love to attend that. So whenever you can swing us tickets,
That's all
let us
she
know.
wrote.
Let's go.
That's all she wrote.
All right, man.
Awesome, guys.
Thanks for being
Cheers.
here.
Shout out Black Dog.
Shout out Black Dog.